Elon Musk and DOGE announcing late last night that your tax dollars are being stolen. They have begun auditing the Social Security Administration Friday and have uncovered this huge, giant fraud, a scheme inside the Social Security database. Elon says, this is big. We're going to explain what's happening. Also, Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump confirming yesterday this whole talk about Canada becoming the 51st state, that there's a reason for it. Trudeau caught on a hot mic warning top labor unions and business leaders that this could actually happen. And Ukraine's president comes out yesterday begging Donald Trump to turn back on the money train. Do not stop the war. I'm willing to trade, he says, offering something worth trillions of dollars to his country. Wait till you hear this. And more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. Elon and DOGE uncovering why the Democrats are so opposed to any audit whatsoever of Social Security fraud. Because it turns out they're the ones getting rich from it. Musk revealing early this morning that his DOGE team discovered a huge gaping security hole and fraud scheme that the Social Security database is purposely not deduplicated, meaning you could have the same Social Security number many times over, which means your tax dollars are being stolen, he said. Elon Musk posting on X, this has enabled massive fraud, saying, I was told yesterday that there are currently over $100 billion a year of entitlement payments to individuals with no Social Security number. This is extremely suspicious, likely fronts for terror or criminal groups. This is the reason the radical Dems don't want an audit of Social Security fraud, because they're the ones getting it. Realize this is the database that handles Social Security. That's crazy. If you even mention Social Security, Dems lose their freaking mind. Even the sheer mention of reform sends them into sheer panic. It's a Social Security database. Social Security numbers are supposed to be unique, right? All they have to do is add a unique index key to the database and poof, all duplicate Social Security claims would be deleted. Yet for some reason, Dems are wholly opposed to doing that. I wonder why. $1.5 trillion a year spent on Social Security benefits. Estimated that the federal government loses between 200 to 520 billion annually to fraud. Could that be why? These people look at our government like we're one giant piggy bank. It's insane. Watch.
Let me give you an example of how screwed up the data is, Mr. President. This is a strong indicator of what's wrong. The Social Security Administration, if you ask them, will tell you that there are, according to their records, there are 6.5 million Americans living today in America who are 112 years of age or older. They say there are 6.5 million Americans who are at least 112 years old or older. Now, I don't know about you, Mr. President, but I don't know anybody who's 112 years old. And I checked, at any given time, there are about 40 people on an ongoing basis in the world who are fortunate enough to live to be 100.
And that's only what we know about. I'm hearing we're about to learn some major fraud has been taking place. DOGE going program by program across each federal agency, cutting what they consider like the low-hanging fruit, and thus far only scratching the surface on the ridiculous spending, saving taxpayers over $100 billion annually already after auditing just 1% of the federal government. Now they're beginning the real work, embedding themselves into some of the government's largest programs, particularly focused on healthcare and the biopharma space. They started digging into it this weekend. Amen. In another story, Justin Trudeau held emergency meetings Saturday with business and labor leaders under the guise of countering the Trump administration's tariffs. But the real reason for the meeting, it turns out, which was captured on a hot mic after the media left the room, is to inform this group that there is a very real plan on the table for the United States to simply absorb our country, he said. What? These comments were not intended for public consumption, people. They were captured on a hot mic after Trudeau thought the press left the room. Well, they recorded it. Here's the clip. Watch.
Excellent. I suggest that not only the Trump administration know how critical are why they keep talking about absorbing us and taking us to the they're very aware of what we have, and they very much to benefit.
Trump then reposting this video to his Truth Social account last night after saying what he has come to learn is that the United States subsidizes Canada by a tune of $200 billion a year, and that if we stopped doing that, their country would cease to exist. That's why they should become our 51st state. Writing this, many people in Canada love being the 51st state. The U.S. can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. If Canada merged with the U.S., there would be no tariffs, no taxes. They would go way down, and they would totally be secured from the Russian and Chinese ships that are constantly surrounding them. Together, what a great nation it would be. So from what I understand from people inside Trump world, that post is apparently 100% legit. That situation that Trump is describing is 100% legit. There's like a national security reason as to why we apparently allow the trade deficits with Canada, that their country really would disintegrate without these subsidies. That the easiest way to solve this is to absorb Canada as our 51st state. That's what it turns out Trudeau's meeting was about. He was meeting with the leaders of these industries who would be most impacted if this weren't to happen and Trump was to reimpose the tariffs and move to solve each of these favorable trade policies the U.S. has with Canada. So with that in mind, here was Trump explaining this without actually laying out just how dire the situation really is for the Canadians. Watch this.
Are you planning to increase the tariffs against Canada? Well, it could happen. If they do anything, we will. Canada's been very abusive of the United States for many years. They don't allow our banks. Did you know that? Canada does not allow banks to go in. If you think about it, that's pretty amazing. If we have a U.S. bank, they don't allow them to go in. Canada's been very tough on oil, on energy. They don't allow our farm products in, essentially. They don't allow a lot of things in, and we allow everything to come in. It's been a one-way street. We subsidize Canada by the tune of about $200 billion a year. And for what? What do we get out of it? We don't get anything out of it. I love the people of Canada. I disagree with the leadership of Canada. And something's going to happen there. But if they want to play the game, I don't mind. We can play the game all they want. Mexico, we've had very good talks with them. And this is retaliatory. This is retaliatory to a certain extent. Millions of people flowed into our country through Mexico and Canada, and we're not going to allow that.
In another story, President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine is getting desperate. The military aid he receives from the U.S. running out. Surviving from the last shipments made by the Biden administration, Trump's cut all aid to Ukraine off, forcing Zelensky to the negotiating table. Well, yesterday, Zelensky made a public plea to Donald Trump, saying he's willing to give the U.S. their critical rare earth metals in a deal that could be worth trillions of dollars. That to save his country and keep the war in motion, he said, he'd be willing to give the U.S. first rights access to all his country's rare earth metals. Watch this.
These deposits are priceless. It is huge amounts of money. Huge. That is why we need to protect it. So if we are talking about a deal, that's what the Americans want, then let's do a deal. We are only for it. Let's do the deal.
І це те, про що я говорив.
This is what I told President Trump when we were together. I told him, this is the victory plan. Why victory? Victory for all. We will protect those trillions. We will prevent Russia from mining the minerals which will later be used to produce technologies for the three countries of the axis of evil. The Americans helped the most, and therefore the Americans should earn the most. And in rebuilding Ukraine, they should have this priority, and they will. I would also like to talk about this with President Trump.
Trump in the past has said publicly the United States wants access to this. At the moment, China controls 97% of all rare earth mining, right? Virtually all rare earth minerals used in advanced semiconductors, satellites, military tech comes from China's side of the global supply chain. This, however, is a non-starter. Trump promised to end this war, and that's exactly what he intends to do. But I wouldn't rule out some kind of mining deal. Trump is a deal maker. He wants to make deals. He wants these metals. Unfortunately for Zelensky, I doubt it will have anything to do with keeping this war going. All right, that wraps up the news portion of today's video. Now let me tell you about the sponsor for today, American Tungsten, a company who has the only tungsten mine, a rare earth metal, in the whole United States. This ties into everything Zelensky was just talking about and about Canada. I had to check this, double check, triple check that. Why in the world has the US government allowed itself to be in this position? There are no producing mines of a very critical and crucial rare earth metal on US soil. What? It's 100% imported from other countries, and this particular rare earth metal is used for military applications. This is gross incompetence, in my opinion. How is it that the US imports 27% of the supply of this metal from its formidable enemy, China? Tungsten's unique characteristics make it indispensable in modern industrial, technological, and defense applications. Tungsten is used as a core material in armor-piercing shells, and bullets. Its density and hardness allow it to penetrate tank armor and reinforce structures effectively for decades. Globalization has blinded politicians, and the Chinese have become the dominators of rare earth mineral mining. I believe that there's never been a better time to look at American-based tungsten stocks. American Tungsten, DEMRF, which could become the first tungsten producer on U.S. soil after decades of no mining whatsoever, is the sponsor of today's video, and I believe this is a must-research opportunity. American Tungsten, only worth 12 million US. The United States faces a critical vulnerability in its dependence on China for rare earth minerals. In the due diligence I conducted, I found out that these rare earth metals are used in so many indispensable items, how China achieved control of approximately 70% of global rare earth production and 85 to 90% of processing capacity, creating a strategic chokehold on global supply chains is beyond me. This dominance is not accidental. Over decades, China has strategically invested in mining, refining, and exporting rare earths while undercutting competitors with lower costs, forcing many U.S. operations to just shut down. The U.S. now has only one operational rare earth mine, Mountain Pass, California, and it relies on China for refining the ore into usable materials, a glaring weakness. It doesn't mine tungsten, though. There are no producing tungsten mines on U.S. soil. Think about that. American Tungsten seeks to become the first tungsten producer on U.S. soil. American Tungsten is advancing a significant North American past-producing mine in a region with minimal environmental and regulatory barriers compared to its overseas competitors. The company's flagship asset used to be the 5th largest operational tungsten mine in all of the USA. The company plans to put it back into production, and what's incredible is that the market cap is only $12 million today. And this historical high-grade mine and drilling results, when compared with other developers who are racing to be the first movers in this space, are much more compelling, in my opinion. I don't know if there's another mineral or metal so essential that the Department of Energy deems it as critical. The U.S. produces none of it, importing it by boatload from China. And I could be a shareholder of the first mover in the mining of it. The U.S. Department of Energy classifies tungsten as a critical material, recognizing its strategic importance to national security, to clean energy, to high-tech industries. Tungsten has the highest melting point of any metal, 3,422 degrees Celsius, and it's extremely dense and hard. These characteristics make it indispensable for applications that require high heat resistance, durability, and strength. So look, do your homework on American tungsten. Right now, its market cap's only 12 million US, all while there are no other companies in the US which have a realistic path to start production. As far as I know, none of them have a faster path than American tungsten can. Think about the potential. 0 operational mines on US soil. China already made export bans. The company will soon begin discussions to secure key strategic partnerships and non-dilutive financing with the U.S. Department of Defense and U.S. Department of Energy, peer companies trading at market caps exceeding 25 million. American tungsten, in contrast, is just beginning its journey. So look, here's what I'll do. I'll put a link to their website in the description. Make sure to do your own due diligence on the company. I'm just providing some of the info about the company, the rare earth mineral market, my thoughts on how the Trump administration will play this. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.